Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to today's event all about starting your Dynamics 365 transformation. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com, and I'm pleased to have Cem Item from Sunrise Technologies here to talk about this topic. He is the Senior Vice President of Global Business Development at Sunrise. As we get started today, please do know that we do want your questions, and to keep things interactive, there's a Q&A block you should see to the right of the main presentation area where you can enter your questions at any point. Please do enter them as we go, and we will be saving time. Cem will, at the end of the presentation, to answer all the questions that come in. If you don't see the Q&A, look to the upper right for a question mark icon that should help you enable Q&A. We'll also have some polls. As I said, we do want to keep this interactive, so be on the lookout for those starting in just a few minutes. So with that, we are ready to get started, and Cem, let me hand it off to you.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining this presentation. So the topic that we have is 10 tips to basically help you start your D365 transformation. So let's kind of look at this 10 areas that we are going to talk about. And actually, the good news is we are going to give more than 10 tips, and maybe these are 10 different topics that you'll be focusing on. So let me kind of take you guys through it. The first one is, before you even start to upgrade, you need to understand the dates. Dates about the versions that we are currently running right now. What are the main support? What are the extended support dates, and how that should basically affect our decisions. The second one is about the tools that Microsoft offers for this initiative, for the upgrades. What is out there, how we can utilize it. And then we're going to talk about the typical things that the clients go through during their upgrade. What will happen to your configurations, customizations, integrations, reports, migrations, and so forth. And then thinking about that, how would you be managing your upgrade? It's a new world with the cloud, and the way you basically go and approach the upgrades and implementations have changed. So we'll a little bit talk about that. And then 9 is about the offers that Microsoft is providing today that you can basically leverage. And the last one is something that we are doing with our clients, that if you want to go to a deeper dive, how we can basically engage in a workshop. So that being said, let's just go take each of these topics. I'm going to basically state some facts up front, and then I'm going to start basically giving some tips that we basically have encountered or learned from our current projects. So why don't we go ahead and start. So the first one is about the dates. So I'm going to focus on AX 2009 and 12. There may be some customers who is running AX 4 or even 3 or 2.5, so good luck to them. We'll definitely be open to talk about this presentation more about 09 and 12 customers. So as you guys know, 09 has been released to the market in August 2008, so it has been about maybe 10 years now. And the mainstream support is going to end in about a month, in April 2018. Then the clients have about another 3 years, if you will, for an extended support. So similarly, if you look at AX 2012, the product itself was first released in September 2011, and the mainstream support, but the R3 version, and it's a very important distinction, the latest R3 release is ending in October 2021, and extended support all the way to 2023. So some clients are out there are on R2 too. Very rarely we see RTM, the first release, but R2 dates, let me give that to you right now. It's not written on the slide, but the main support will end in October 2018, and then the extended will end on October 2021. So it's more alignment with the AX 2009 days. So what does this all mean? First of all, even before I show the tip, let me kind of make a distinction about what a main support and an extended support is. Main support, you guys have been doing this for quite some time now. Microsoft, basically whenever they find a new feature or a hot fix and so forth, in a very organized manner, they basically release cumulative updates or releases on the software. So basically it's an active product, it's being developed, it's being worked on. The moment main support exists, Microsoft basically stops the development on that version of the product. One thing is still in, and those are the security updates. So if there are any security-related issues that come up, Microsoft will actually provide the update. You still have an option to get a hot fix or some kind of a feature edit if you pay for it during the extended period. So again, the software will still run and all those kind of great things. we still support it, but don't expect any new features or hotfixes flowing to you just automatically that you otherwise have on a mainstream. So what does this, if you will, a little bit all mean? If you kind of look at this, everybody is kind of trying to figure out when to start their journey. We have few clients started on 2009. Some actually R2 clients, AX12 R2 clients are thinking whether they should upgrade to R3 or D365, and our suggestion is immediately D365 because even if they do upgrade to R3, their return is going to be very limited. But the first thing you need to be aware of is we expect there's going to be an upgrade stampede, most likely in 19 and 2020. People are kind of getting warmed up to this. Some people are already budgeted and they're kind of doing it this year. But there's a big flux of customers who are going to basically require resources in the market to basically do their upgrades. I think 2009 clients are absolutely going to hit 19 and 20. I don't think 2021 people will wait too long. But there are some news about 2012 about the locking of the code by Microsoft that you may basically start to hear. And we're going to talk about that in a couple slides. But some AX 2012 clients may start early. Thus, there may be this late 09 and early 2012 clients all coming together in 19 and 20 doing it. So just be aware of this. Basically, our advice is the earlier you can start, the better it is. Second one is be aware of the ISV solutions too. I mean, these dates that we are talking about is the Microsoft solutions, and most of our clients have multiple ISV solutions deployed. So you got to also know about their support policies. So you may be waiting and extending, but is the ISV solution which is embedded in your solution is still supporting the same dates that Microsoft offers. So please keep your eyes on that one too. And of course, needless to say, always plan for some time. Do not wait till the last minute. I guess everybody kind of pretty much knows that. But as you guys are going to see at the end of this implementation, what we call as an upgrade is going to be almost like a re-implementation more than a straightforward upgrade that, for example, otherwise you do from AX12 R2 to R3. With the new enhancements and so forth, this is almost like a very good opportunity for a client to look back, re-evaluate everything, and then so-called upgrade. So it's going to take some time. It's going to take some planning. So please put some time on that one. So this is actually we have 3 polls. This is the first poll point. So Jason, why don't I kind of pass it to you?
Okay, so that poll has launched. You should see it in the webcast window now. And we'll leave that open for just a few seconds here, and we'll see what kind of audience results we get. It will be anonymized.
Great.
Maybe I see a few people still doing it. So another 5 seconds.
Sure.
All right. I'm going to close those out. There's going to be a little delay in showing it, but I can tell you about 70% are saying AX 2009, and about 30% are saying 2012. No one
Great.
said earlier.
Okay, that's a good sign. And it's actually, you're right. And what you are doing is basically what the market is looking. There's more interest in 2009 to 12 at this moment in time. All right, great. So thanks for those. And again, we'll continue these polls and share the results with you. The second one, let's talk about the tools. What is Microsoft offering? There are tools for both 2009 and 2012 available. There are 2 types of tools. One is a data migration tool, and there is a code migration tool available as well. 2009, we only have data migration tool. There is no code migration tool. And in 2012, both are available. And again, if you kind of look at the code migration, actually there are certain pieces that you can do automatically. Some of them are manual, and some of them actually, even if you have a code migration tool, it may not move. For example, enterprise portal. The concept of an enterprise portal has disappeared. We actually have a browser-based kind of a best-class cloud application. There is, for example, a vendor portal per se, but it does not build on the same technology that we had otherwise on 2009 and 2012. So even if you may have done some code over there, even though we have tools, it may not basically address those side of the application. And again, we're going to talk much more on the migration, especially on the data migration side later in the presentation. So first of all, needless to say, you need to always take these tools and utilize it as much as possible. Microsoft first actually published the 2009, and then they moved and published 2012 R3. I think R2 must be available, and those are the three main ones. Take those as a base, and then basically we are going to start iterating from there. The second one is ISV tools too. I mean, just for example, we are an ISV ourselves, and several of you on the call are using our IP. We had to also provide tools that facilitate this upgrade as well, both in terms of the code as well as the data too. So make sure, again, if you have ISVs, reach out to them and see what kind of help they can provide to you. And always know that these are starting points. These tools, again, don't have everything that you are going to need. You are expected to actually extend them. And again, on the migration side, we are going to talk more about that, but the tools themselves are quite flexible in themselves. So take that as a starting point, and you're going to basically tailor it, if you will, to your needs. So actually, let me move this. Let's go ahead and look at the next topic. Configuration. So we start the journey. We know the dates. We know Microsoft is offering the tools. So now let's talk about different aspects of the upgrade. The first thing is configurations. Basically, it's our baseline. The baseline has moved significantly. I'm 70% of you are on '09. There have been significant enhancements on the application, such as we now have an advanced warehouse solution. We have full retail solution, call center, trade allowances, and several many more things that also apply on 2012. For example, workspaces, embedded Power BI, and the new features are streaming literally on quarterly basis. For example, we have new vendor collaboration tools. On the retail solution, we have a cloud-based point of sale solution and so forth, so on. So the gap is pretty big between 2009 and D365. And when D365 came up, maybe with 2012, they were kind of almost similar. But right now what's happening is as every month is passing with every feature releases from Microsoft, the gap is also widening. So what does this mean all to you? Number one, it's good news. Basically, the base code has improved significantly. What we are seeing is most of our clients are letting go of their customizations because the standard product has that, which is great. And it's the reason why the upgrade project may necessarily not be just take what you have and move it. Actually, I would say at least half of it is about cleaning what you have and ensuring that you are sticking to the standard. And this is very, very important because in the cloud world, as we are going to go and talk about on the customization side, the less code that you have outside the base, the better it is. The simpler your basically updates will happen in the cloud, less maintenance and so forth, so on. Now, you are most likely going to find that you may actually completely eliminate the need of some ISV solutions. And again, if you have a warehouse solution, you may not need it. If you have a call center add-on, something that does trade allowance, or even a retail solution, I mean, those things kind of go away. That also, I'm sure you may have done, you may purchase maybe little ISVs to do different aspects. BI side, we are going to talk about under reports more, but mainly it is a good time to look back and then look at the ISV solutions. Again, why? This is, even though these are Microsoft certified in the cloud, the less ISVs that you have, the better it is for you to basically move very quickly and be agile. So another point of study. And the third one, and this is kind of a little mind-boggling, because especially if you're an on-premise client, this is kind of a little bit hard to grasp. The functionality gap that we have today between D365 and the on-premise solutions are widening literally every quarter. So it's kind of a very interesting concept because the version that you may start your upgrade may not be the version that you go live with. And most likely it's not going to be the version that you're going to end up supporting a year from today. It's a very interesting concept. Now, it's a great concept in a sense that the functionality features basically trickle to the application. You won't go through any major upgrades or update as we are basically what we're trying to do to get you guys to the cloud. But once you're in the cloud, you are going to basically have a stream of these updates. So it's a different mental state, if you will. So just be aware of it. The more you wait, basically, the more you're going to end up basically doing a bigger gap fit analysis and then hopefully find that you don't need things to basically carry on. So, so when you start the journey, please take a look at these things. Now, one of the key concepts is the customizations. There have been significant improvements in how the application is extended in the cloud world. So both in OX 2009 and 2012, we used a method called overlaying. So what this was, we were able to go ahead and basically customize the solution. But what ended up happening is the object in the inner layer was copied automatically to an outer layer, which we basically made the modifications on. And the application kept two copies, but always used the one that was sitting in the outer layer, which was the one that was called by the user. So you almost like have a identical copy, not identical, it was the copies, and one is modified, one is not, and so forth, so on. But it's sitting in a completely overlay method. Well, this is maybe okay if you're on premise and if you're upgrading maybe every 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. In a cloud world, when you are basically almost streaming these updates every quarter and so, this method is not sustainable. Why? Because the more you have overlays, you're copying the whole base code and iterating it. The base code is kind of, if you will, changing, if you will. So it's basically making this kind of updates in the cloud more difficult. And that's the reason why Microsoft started the D365 not from an overlay perspective, but from what we are calling as an extension perspective. So there's great information out there on the web, but mainly what this is this. Rather than making a whole copy of the object itself has plugins. There are ins and outs, if you will. And you can write a code, and only the code that you extended resides outside the base layer, and the main object calls that extension based on where you plugged into the main object. It's a very different and much, if you will, nicer approach. Why? Because when Microsoft updates the code, they can actually tell you which of these plugins they touched. And if they not touch the plugin that you wrote your extension, you don't need to worry about. The system will just run as it is, and you can just basically take the code and then basically use those basically new features if you need to. So it's a really nice way of basically doing it, and thus we basically have to do it in the cloud world. Any customization that we have, we basically need to endorse the same method. Do also understand this. Microsoft is one layer at a time, is also, if you will, sealing the application, which means they're not even going to let you overlay any code on top of the code. The only way you could do this in an extension mode. Today, if you are running D365 and if you're trying to upgrade, the application supports both. You can overlay the code, you can extend the code as well. And the theory of that is moving the client's code, overlaid code, to an overlay code on D365, and then give them an environment to work to basically convert that to an extension mode. But even right now, the speed that Microsoft is going, D365 itself may be sealed so much that you may not move your overlay code from 12 or 09, most likely 12, to an overlay structure in D365 because it will only support the extensions. So what does this all mean to you? First of all, any customization you're going to have needs to be touched. First of all, you'll hopefully eliminate most of your customizations because the base code will have it. The second, whatever is absolutely needed needs to move from this overlay to the extension. There's no discussion about it. This is the way to go. It's a process. I've done it multiple times, most likely like us, so several ISV solutions have been through this. The second one is the AX12 code migration is going to get more difficult over time because Microsoft is going to seal the application more and more. So you won't be able to take your overlay code from 12 to plug in D365 and then work through extensions. We won't even have a place to put it on. So we almost need to like rewrite it in an extension mode when we are basically moving it. Another one is, again, maybe reiterating it, these updates are frequent. Generally, there are platform updates which are less intrusive, and those are actually more frequent. Those are kind of the more the platform, the more the base. The second one is the application updates, which generally you can think about coming in maybe every 2 to 3 months. So every 2 to 3 months, if you will, we are going to go through this kind of analysis and making sure that whatever Microsoft releases works hand in hand with ours, and we're going to basically introduce that to our environment at our own time, meaning there's still this kind of testing is still done in a staging area and so forth, and is only promoted to production upon your approval. So there's still a gated process there, but what we are finding out is we are basically encouraging all of our clients to stay close to the latest release as much as possible to basically leverage those new features and basically always be up to date. So great improvements on the customization side, but then this is going to introduce some work on the customization piece. So let's look at the next area. Integrations is yet another point that has changed significantly too. Both AX 2009 and 12 relied on basically a framework we call as Application Integration Framework. So to kind of make a comparison, so Dynamics 365 actually lets go of this framework and utilizes some new concept called data entities. Actually, maybe new concept to D365, not to the application world. So to understand this a little bit better, I mean, I kind of ask this to our technical folks. The way they explain is, I'm sure most of you guys have used EDI. So EDI, if you think about it, is a very service-centric um, framework. For example, you have an 850, an 810, an 856, an 864. You send an order, you invoice it, there's an ASN, there is order acknowledgement. But even if you think about an order creation versus an order acknowledgement being two different services, that's exactly how AIF worked. Now, what would be a data entity? In a data entity, you expose the sales order itself, and then you expose its properties. And properties maybe not only create, edit, but different statuses as well around that sales order, which basically, rather than trying to predetermine kind of the service that you are trying to do and writing messages to that service, you are basically seeing full object itself, and you are being able to manipulate it, if you will, in terms of sending data, pulling it back, creating it, modifying it, by seeing a full picture of the object itself with its different properties. So what does this mean to us? Well, please do not underestimate. You are going to end up rewiring your integrations. I mean, most likely, again, depending on where the data is flowing, you may not touch your external side of the mappings, but again, there are schema changes we need to think about as we discussed on the configuration side, but also the technology has changed. So Microsoft basically provides hundreds and hundreds of these data entities. As stated on the third point over there, you can actually extend them. You can even create new ones, but the data flow in and out of D365 is going to end up being reworked around these data entities. The second point is key here too. We talked about ISV solutions, but you may actually have an ISV solution that is residing outside of D365 and talking to D365. A typical one is, for example, EDI, and it can be a forecasting solution and so forth, so on. But so for those ones that are embedded within D365, you need to basically take them through the customization route and make sure that they're written in an extended code manner and everything is good. The ones that are residing outside, you need to make sure that their integration to D365 is updated by use of these data entities. And again, if you go to the app source and if you look at any of these ISVs, I mean, they must have already done so. But again, all the communication in and out of this is using this new concept of data entities. All right. We are going to have our next topic, and then we're going to have a poll around it. Which hopefully will give you a little break too. Are the reports. Now, this is a big improvement as well. We all know AX 2009 and 12 used SSRS, but most importantly, SSAS for analytical reporting, SSRS for operational, SSAS for analytical reporting. The analytical piece has significantly changed in Dynamics 365. You guys may know about a great tool Microsoft introduced a few years back, which is now leading the whole market, is Power BI. And now Power BI is mainly used within D365 as the analytical layer. So for example, rather than establishing cubes and running in SSAS, we are actually creating data content packages and then having access to that using Power BI. And Microsoft has already embedded literally dozens of workspaces, and ISVs or partners like us have developed several workspaces, maybe industry-specific workspaces, utilizing this framework and offering the client a DI-rich, basically, user interface and user interaction to the application. So significant improvements have been done in this area, and basically our suggestion is, number one, you guys will remember it was AX09 days was kind of maybe the first initial introduction. AX 2012, we basically start seeing this concept of a role center, which was not high utilized. But in D365, honestly, you cannot avoid a workspace. If you are doing something without using a workspace, it means that you are not using the tool correctly. So especially when we come and interact with the application, you are going to see heavy usage of this workspace. And workspaces are basically a grouping of certain processes, such as it may be a financial closing. function. Literally, there's a workspace called financial close. If you want to do a closing, you get into that workspace. Anything that you need to do that process is embedded in. There are several ones, for example, that we have developed. It may be about like outbound shipping process. If you want to get in there and see what is happening on the outbound shipping, and you want all the information, including your BI and the links and tiles and KPIs all popping up in one place to do a certain job, basically you can use a workspace. And all these workspaces are powered by, again, Power BI. So basically the key point is this. BI is not an afterthought anymore. BI is a part of the deployment itself. And you cannot avoid it because it's going to start popping up to the user within these workspaces anyhow. So this really changes the game for us, for everybody. That BI is not an afterthought, but it's an embedded part of an ERP upgrade and deployment. Thus, it is going to raise lots of questions about BI-centric ISV solutions. Microsoft has improved so much in this area, it is really hard to justify why you may even need a BI-centric ISV solution. So if you guys have any of these, definitely, do your due diligence, see what comes out of the box at Microsoft, what you can do with it. But the tools, especially what Power BI can do for you, is just amazing. Another last point, when you upgrade and when you get into the D365, as you said, analytics runs through Power BI. Thus, Microsoft did a good job of basically taking the licensing and embedding it within the D365 framework and making sure that the people are able to access to that data without necessarily buying the base licenses yet. Once our client starts to experiment that, they start to love this product and they want to go and basically, for example, pull data from other data sources or be able to use it on their mobile phones, which is amazing. Since it's a cloud-based BI solution, anything that you design is not only available within your browser, within your ERP system, but it's also available on your iPhone. So if you want to do this, you're going to end up basically buying Power BI Pro licenses. They're not expensive. It's $10 per user per month. But do know that that some of our clients are kind of caught off guard during this process. So this is another poll. Maybe Jason, you take it from here.
Okay, so the second poll question should now be up, and I see a few responses coming in. So let's give this another maybe 10, 15 seconds, and then we'll try to reveal the results. All right, I am going to close this one out now, and yeah, let's take a look at the results here. Jim?
Oh, great. I can see the results too, yeah. So 41% love it. We are glad that you guys are using this because anything that you do on that one is going to basically have a better ROI when you basically upgrade. So glad to hear that. If you guys are not using it, that 24%, we highly recommend you doing it. Actually, there is some trial runs. There are lots of free tools with it. You can actually experiment with it. It doesn't even need to be, if you will, relate it to an ERP. You can actually take a Excel spreadsheet or any data source and play with it. So we highly encourage you guys to do it as this is going to be a central part of the analytics. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, migrations. So this is one of the biggest things that we are going to end up tackling, right? The schema has significantly changed. If you are especially on 2009 to 365, the schema has changed significantly. With 2012, they are relatively similar since 365 was kind of built on the 12 schema. And again, as we are introducing more functions and areas, the gap is kind of a little bit widening, but the core schema that you should kind of consider are pretty much the same. Now, here's the interesting thing about the migration itself. First of all, the migration is not a database upgrade. So it's not like, let's take your database, push a button, and it does some magic, run some scripts, and then boom, you got a D365 version. Actually, what ends up happening to migration is we export all your data from your quote-unquote legacy system, which is 2.9 or 12. We transform the data, and we import it to D365. So it is truly an extract, transform, load process than truly a database upgrade process. So please know that. So it's almost like moving from a legacy system to D365. Microsoft does provide these tools. Basically, there are extraction tools from your all 9 and 12 instances. There is a staging area where basically you can go see the data and manipulate it if you need to. And there are also import tools embedded within D365 that lets you suck in the data from that data, if you will, staging area into D365. But at the end of the day, the data um, is being extracted, transformed, and loaded, which means opens up the second point. Just like you are moving the data from the legacy system, these tools actually allows you to do all your master data. They will move all your open transactions. They will move your, closed balances and so forth, but it will not move your historical data. Meaning, if you have an invoice that you posted 3 years ago, since you're not doing an upgrade, database upgrade, it's not going to come in. So very similar to what you guys have been through during your first go live. We are talking about the same things. Now, there are some business areas that Microsoft is starting to think about what they could do. For example, if you're in a consumer, let's say direct-to-consumer business, and you have tons of data about consumers and their data, and they're basically selling um, behavior and transactions and so forth, how how could we basically keep that into the cloud world? How could we transfer? So as you guys know what people do, they basically extract their data to a staging area, which they can do inquiries on later, or they even keep the legacy system running for some time to do those kind of analysis. And Microsoft is kind of thinking about this. So they may provide, for example, staging areas, not necessarily loaded to D365, but kind of provide some staging areas for you to at least see it and reports on it. But again, those are not committed yet. Just know that this is just like a new implementation. Your historical data is most likely not to come, but the other ones, master data, open transactions, and closed balances and so forth on the financial side will flow through. The next one is, again, these tools actually lets you start your migration as early as possible. And it is, since it's an extract, transform, load, you could actually do this in an iterative manner. For example, you can take your customers only and move it. You can take your vendors and move it. You can take a portion of your products and move it. You can wipe it out and move it again and so forth so on. So honestly, what's happening in our deployments is we do multiple migrations, and actually we start the migration first. So we always go and try to migrate the data, regardless of how, if you will, bad or incomplete maybe, we still want to do a little migration to make sure that the system up and running with some kind of at least customer data that basically people are in and being able to use the system with. So again, know these migrations can be done iteratively. Don't go and do a big bang. And again, you have the tools to basically help you do it. Now, we talked about configuration, customization, integration, reporting, migration. And again, in your first deployment, you have done all these things. And generally in those on-premise deployments, what basically we were doing is Microsoft had an established sure-step methodology, which was waterfall. You did the diagnostics, then you did your analysis, then you wrote your design documents, you signed them off, then you do development was done, and then you start your deployment, conference room pilots, and so forth, so on. This world has significantly changed. The market has demanded it, and also the cloud type products are enabling us to be more agile than we could be on the on-premise environments. So the deployment approaches have several changes. We have done it now almost 150 times. The last maybe 20 we have done, we basically completely changed our approach to be more, if you will, agile, more sprint-centric. So we also basically expect that during your upgrade, you're going to go through a similar exercise. So what those kind of mean? People have an iterative approach. So especially when it comes to analysis and design. So imagine a case, we said, look, please don't move your customizations as much as possible. Eliminate the ISVs. Think about the reports. How would you make a decision? How would you know that you kind of plan, but the users are okay with it? So here's the deal. You can just go run multiple sprints and do it iteratively. You can basically bring up the standards, load some basic data, then start working with these workspaces and do a if you will, short-term analysis and design and then show it to the users constantly and let them work on their to-be processes as they go along. So it's a very different approach. It's a very uncomfortable approach, actually, both for a deployer, system integrator like us, and as well as the customer. But it avoids all the headaches that you otherwise have on the deployment on the conference room pilot size, where a user says, this is not what I really ask, or I actually want something else, because they never really touched the system. They never really understood how the system may work. So like us, a couple partners are kind of embracing this approach. We have embraced it and we are seeing great results with it. So please do expect some change. It's not going to be the same way that we have done the first time. There are some new methodologies being developed and deployed as we speak, which basically does a great job of prioritizing the migrations and integrations before customizations, which is a big, big goal too. Because if we can get the user to work with their data in the new way, and if we can hook up some of these integrations and then ask the people to use these new workspaces, Power BI functions, and so forth, and basically encourage them and getting them basically used to the new system across several, if you will, weeks and months, their demand on the customizations also significantly drops. So please think about those things. One thing that happens if you take this kind of approach, project tracking actually becomes more difficult because it's not a gated waterfall. It's not like how many design documents I'm going to write, 50, great. Has it been signed off or not? Signed off, okay, go do this, and so forth, so on. Those are, if you will, a little bit easier. Imagine a case where we are doing this iteratively and many things happening and being developed at the same time simultaneously. The amount of tasks that you need to basically check and make sure that people are accountable for actually exponentially increases. So we, for example, Sunrise have built a tool to basically enable doing this. It actually runs in the cloud itself. It's a full-blown project management tool, but basically users interact with it, the core project team interacts with it, and it is a beautiful Power BI layer on top of it, which basically shows where the project is at any given time. It will track the sprints. It will track what we are supposed to do for each sprint and whether we have done it or not. It can track everything from the budget and the time consumption and so forth, so on. Basically, the point here is this. Iterative is the way to go, which is going to automatically prioritize different things, like a migration, which most likely was an afterthought, and completely do it kind of backwards manner, if you will. No, do the migrations, integrations first, and customizations next. And in order to be able to do it, you are going to need good management tools. And some partners who have been doing it end up developing these tools and, like us, basically provide their clients during this such upgrades. So please be aware of this as well. So the next topic is offers. So Microsoft is, of course, have developed this incredible new platform, and they would like to get their existing client base to move to this platform as fast as possible, and they're basically providing significant discounts. All of you guys own your applications. So you have actually multiple choices. You can keep your application and then use what we call as cloud add-on SKUs to pay for the platform and the infrastructure to take your on-premise licenses, which are, 2009, for example, are named, convert them to concurrent, and then basically run it in the cloud. These are all possible. Or you can completely let go of your license and then go to another SKU we call from SA SKU or from software assurance SKU, if you will. You basically are 100% subscription. You don't pay any maintenance anymore. But regardless, these differential amounts that is offered to a client actually has a discount. So if you are doing it until November 2019, you're going to get a 40% discount for the users that you already own, which is a significant discount. So several of our clients have actually used some of it. So please think about it and consider that. The second one is these kind of campaigns are actually encouraging people to move to something that we call as plans. In the new cloud world, Microsoft is doing a great job of basically combining ERP and CRM together under one integrated business application platform. And in order to showcase this, they're basically providing these campaigns to the existing client base. And once you, for example, get into that 40% discount campaign, while you are moving your ERP, you are automatically going to get CRM because those discounts are applied to these plans, which includes ERP and CRM. And after you apply the discount, actually, it's much more attractive than just upgrading the ERP. You basically get almost like CRM embedded in within basically your transition. We actually have a couple clients who have taken advantage of it and actually end up deploying cloud on the CRM side, but still kind of keep a portion of their on-premise licenses on the ERP side. Another great thing about this is you can actually go take little pieces of this. You don't need to do it, if you will, all at once. So why don't we kind of look at some tips. Number, it's obvious. Please utilize these campaigns as much as possible. It really simplifies and encourages great savings for the client. Second one is you can actually incrementally move to the cloud, and it's a big, big, big thing. You can actually take, for example, keep your applications, but using this cloud add-on SKUs, you can take a portion of your users and move it to the cloud. Another portion you can move to the cloud. You don't need to do a big bang, let's move everything all at once to the cloud, which is very, very attractive, and most of our clients are actually doing that. And eventually what will happen is once, if you have different regions, different plants, different distribution centers, different areas, you can actually move different user groups into the cloud one at a time, and basically deplete your on-prem and then boot up your cloud instance accordingly. And again, another food for thought, just know that these campaigns are not going to basically run forever. The current campaign on that 40% is available till November 2019, meaning after November 2019, you will still actually get a discount since you're an existing customer. For your existing users, you will still get a 15% discount, but that additional 25 discount will, if you will, disappear. So those are about the offers, and we're going to get into our next kind of question. So given this, I mean, you almost like have two choices. One is, oh, great, thanks for the information, but you know what? I want to basically think about it a little bit. It's actually most like a timing approach, in which basically then you'll talk about support, how you can basically support what you have. And the second one is basically coming back and like, you know what? I was planning about doing it anyhow, and let's go ahead and transform it. So I'm sure you guys have been thinking about it. So maybe, Jason, we had another poll here if you want. Let's bring that up.
Okay, that is up now.
Great. This is more about a timing, if you will, when you guys are thinking about moving, whether it is this year, next year, didn't make a decision yet.
All right, we have a few people still answering, so I'll give another 5 seconds or so, and then we'll close it out. And all right, well, people are still putting in answers, but I will start to close it out here. I can tell you the most popular answer was looking to transform in 2019, 44%, followed by still deciding at 39%, and a few transforming this year.
Great. That few, we congratulate you. You're kind of a little bit early in the curve, which is good. 2019, great decision. If it's still deciding starts to pile up in 2019, we are going to start having those stampede effects. So, but now you guys kind of know, and again, just consider it. This is yet another, several clients are like you at this moment in time. They're trying to basically figure out when is the right time to do it, and if you will do their budgeting accordingly. Now, if you do choose to, if you will, start this journey, what we try to do with our clients is, I mean, everybody's lots of questions. Like you said, look, the configurations have been improved so much that you may not discuss customizations, or these ISV solutions question about it, what kind of integrations you may have reports. Everybody's kind of trying to figure out what this upgrade project may be. What is this new way of running an upgrade project? So generally what we are doing is we basically provide this kind of workshop for our clients. If you kind of contact us on that web link, what we can able to do, we'll qualify you, basically meaning that you are serious about such a study, and it's just not like somebody just clicking the button for the sake of clicking the button. But once we kind of go through that process, understand who you are, we are more than happy to engage in a workshop, get into a more, if you will, deeper kind of conversation, looking at what you have, answering your specific Q&As, and help you basically come up with a plan and a decision. So please, if you're interested, don't hesitate to basically visit sunrise.co upgrade-workshop to basically request one. Now, if you are thinking that, look, I'm just going to stick around and let you see what is happening. In that case, look, if you're interested, again, we do offer global support as well. It's truly global and 24/7. We have a, if you will, a support group that does that. And the nice thing about it is pay as you go. If you don't use the support, you don't pay for it. If you use it, you basically pay for it. So if you are interested, please also visit us and then learn more about it. Again, maybe kind of a couple final topics. We hope the session was nice and you guys kind of now a little bit more things to think about and consider. If you guys are interested, we would love to basically work with you. Again, we have been around for 24 years, 15 years of that was with Microsoft, and we have been recognized across multiple if you will, areas. And again, we would love to hear from you and then work with you. So if you have any questions, you'll kind of start getting that. And again, I'll do my best to answer them. If not, we'll follow up with you. If you have other questions that if you would like to go ahead and send an email, it's info@sunrise.co. With that being said, we have about actually pretty decent time. We have about maybe 15 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do is I can see some questions kind of coming up, so I'm going to basically take that and then start answering a few of them. Does a standard AX conversion from 2012 automatically adjust any table customization into an extensible model? Okay. It's a little bit more technical than I could answer. Um, I don't want to give a wrong answer since I'm not that technical. So what we will do is let us get back to you. It does consider, I mean, at the end of today, since the objects are integrated to the tables, there is still an application object tree. There are all those things. And since we are not touching tables directly, but rather going through that object layer, it's basically those objects, if you will, are being touched and moved from overlay to extensions. And as we are doing it, the table changes are also happening accordingly. But we'll come back and answer you, if you will, in a much more detailed manner. There's another question I think you have also asked. Let me kind of take a couple minutes to look at that. Again, more table. So basically the question is like, where do the exit points exist in the standard D365? I assume they're available for all table inserts and updates, but are they also available from within the code classes mainly? For example, are there exit points and key stages within the invoicing process? Yes, there are. So imagine this, for example, a sales order process. You may have like a credit check logic, right? So there may be one plugin right before the credit and right after the credit check. Or there may be, create a pick ticket right before and right after and so forth. And those extensions, Microsoft also introduced new extensions. So basically they'll come back and they say, oh, you have an overlay code, and you may come back and say, look, I cannot move this overlay code to extension because you have not provided me the extension that I need to hook up to. And they will work with you to put that extension in as well. We have gone through this process several times with them. Right now, the extensions that we have is much, if you will, comprehensive than the extensions that otherwise we started with. So it's an evolving process, but right now there's a very, very good coverage around it, and Microsoft is constantly basically introducing and looking at the client base and looking at the partners to see if they need to add more of these plugins into the main object. All right, if there are, again, more questions, please don't hesitate to write on your Q&A.
Jem, we also had a request for the PowerPoint from today's event. Should we just pass along those requests to you and your team?
Sure, absolutely, please. And we'll be more than happy to share it with you. We actually are going to have two ebooks, one for AX 2009 and one for AX 2012 clients. And you will actually even have more information than what I have shared with you in those ebooks. So what we may do is we can actually send you those ebooks. So please reach out to us. Again, you can send an email to info@sunrise.co, request it, and then we'll get back to you with links to those, if you will, ebooks, again, which are very specific to the version that you are in. So when you reach out, please do let us know which version you are on, such that we can basically hook you up with the right ebook.
Okay. Well, yeah, I am not seeing any other questions right now. I want to remind folks we also do have a quick survey after the event wraps up today. After you depart, you'll see just asking for a little bit of feedback. It takes 15 or 20 seconds. We appreciate any anything else you can offer to tell us about your experience today. With that, I think we are ready to start wrapping up. Cem, thank you so much for taking the time today. Much appreciated, and glad to have you joining.
Great. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.
All right, and with that, we will conclude today's event. We did record it as well. Have a great day, everybody.